Alright guys, so it's been about 20 minutes. That should be enough time for such a small mold. So now it's time to open it. And as I said before, I should have put a little bit of a pry point on this, but I didn't. So what I'm hoping is I can just push it off. If the petroleum jelly around the edges works as it should, I should be able to just hopefully push it off. Mainly just trying to break the seal that the clay has on the wood. So let's see here. I'm just going to slowly moving. Even doing this, I want to be careful, you know. And there it goes. And there we have it. As you can see, just from this, the petroleum jelly, it did its job. The plaster was not able to stick to the board, so it just created a nice, smooth, flat surface for it. So now we can put that to the side, and there it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a few of these edges off here. These are the thinner parts. Gonna give them a quick little peel, just to peel these thinner edges off. Okay. Okay. Now all we have to do is just clean the mold out. This can be a little bit tricky. So in order to do this, I'm just going to take one of my sculpting tools, and I'm going to just start trying to peel all this clay out. Now, the one thing you want to keep in mind is that this is a plaster. You don't want to use metal on these. Plaster scrapes very easily. It's very soft. So, if try to use wood. In some situations, you can't help but use a metal, but preferably you want to use wood. So here we go. I'm just going to try to clean this out, and also keep in mind, again, it is the plaster is very soft, so this will break very easily if I'm not careful. So I've got one little edge. Sometimes you'll be lucky and you can just peel it up just like that. It just comes off at one piece, nice, easy. Sometimes you'll have a little bit stubborn pieces. So just you're just gonna keep going around. I'm just trying to keep this in frame, and just if you're lucky like this, I'm able to pull this whole piece up right here as one big piece. There we go. Nice, clean looking. Came out one section. The only things left are just the stitches. So now I can just get in here and pull these up, and if I'm lucky, these will come out with no problem, and I'll be able to. I won't have, you know, too much cleanup afterwards. So far, everything's coming out pretty well. But with these small things, It's going to take a little bit more coaxing, so I'm just going to get in here with the tool, very gently pry up and take the clay out. There we go. That's one stitch taken out. So now I'm just gonna keep going, working around. And take it out. Alrighty guys, so there it is, nice and cleaned out. The clay pretty much just slid right out. So this one was a pretty easy demolding. No damage to it, and all the detail came out exactly as I needed it. So now I'm just going to give this a quick cleaning of alcohol. I'm just going to brush it a bit, make sure there's no residue of clay in here at all, and then we will be ready to cast into it. Yeah. Alright guys, so now that I've gone through and I've given the mold a quick little cleaning with the alcohol, just to make sure that any residue of clay is cleaned out. Now all we have to do is cast. Cast the appliance, and you can use two different things here. You can use either mask making latex or a liquid latex, and the only difference is the liquid latex is not as thick as mask latex is, and so it may take you a little bit longer to get a good thickness built up out of the liquid latex. The main purpose of the liquid latex is it's safer for skin contact, unlike the mask making latex. But today I'm going to be using some mask making latex I have here, and if I haven't mentioned it before, all of the products that I've used here, as far as the plaster, latex, I'll try to leave some links in the description, just to give you guys some ideas of where to find it. Like I said, though, the plaster, Home Depot, or any pottery store will sell it. Even Walmart, I believe, sells some small little plaster kits or whatever. But then the latex, if you can find it around your area, that's great. But for the majority of the time, for me, I usually have to order mine. So the latex I'm using is it's Morse Hollywood latex. This is a gallon. I've had this for a while. So basically, this is a very simple step. We're just going to pour some of the latex in there, make sure we coat all the sides into it, and then we're just going to let it sit there for a little bit, and then just to make sure that the whole area gets coated, and then the excess I'm just going to dump out back into the jug, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I build up a good thickness. Usually for these, I only go 2, maybe sometimes 3 layers, but usually 2 is sufficient for small appliances, especially like this. Now, the good thing about this process is the main reason plaster and latex works so well together is because plaster is a porous surface, and latex has a lot of water in it, and so when you pour latex into a plaster mold, it's gonna do what's called skinning, and basically the plaster is sucking all the water out of the latex, and it's just leaving a thin skin of just latex. So that's why plaster is a really good property for molds. You're going to put latex into it, because it will absorb all the water in the latex. So that way you're just left with just the rubber at the end. So let's just do this real quickly. Just going to take it. I got to make sure I'm in frame here, and just very carefully, I'm just going to pour this in. That, and you don't have to, they sell smaller things of latex. You can get quarts, but this is what I have here, and then I'm just going to just rotate the mold. I'm going to rotate the mold, let it coat as much as it can. Just let it we're just going to let it mold, and then you could also help it around just by using one of your metal, not metal, wood sculpting tools. Just help drag it around. The one thing you want to make sure is with the when you have deep crevices like these stitches, you just want to make sure you get in there and just very lightly just kind of dig in there a little bit, not into the plastic, just kind of just swoosh your tool into the deep crevices. That way you're popping any air bubbles that are in there. So like that stitch right there, I've got a good bit of bubbles coming up, and I just want to get rid of those, so I don't have no air bubbles and pockets in the final appliance. So just very lightly, just work it back and forth, trying to bring up any air bubbles that are in the latex. There was another big bubble right there. Okay. So that's pretty good right there. I'm just gonna just pour a little bit more in. And just let it, give it a good coat. Now the thing with when casting a appliance, as I mentioned before, when sculpting the appliance, you want to make sure the edges are thin, and when casting it, especially with latex like this, you want to try to make the edges as thin as possible. So when you're casting these, you can watch the latex and try to make it to where the latex is getting thinned out, because again, the thinner the edge on your appliance, the easier it's going to be to hide it. If you're just doing this just for like a quick little Halloween thing, you know, you don't have to worry about the edges too much. But it's just if you want to try to get those edges as thin as possible. So now I've got a good coverage, so I'm just going to go and pour out any excess that I've got. And like I mentioned before, if you're using liquid latex, it's obviously going to be a lot runnier than this, and so you can tell this is a pretty thick latex, and so it's not going to take that long to build up a layer. But with the liquid latex, it might take a few more passes through. So I'm just going to try to let a little bit, as much as I can, drain out, because you want to try to drain out as much as possible, because the thicker the latex, the longer it's going to take to dry. Latex dries by air, so I think that's pretty much about all that I'm going to be getting from this. And so now I'm just going to set this down and let it dry. And you'll be able to tell when latex is dry, because in the liquid state it's a white color. Well, as it dries, it turns like into a yellowish looking color. So when your entire piece is completely yellow, that's pretty much your sign that it's dry. And it's ready for demolding. So for these for some of these edges, if you want to, you can try to like drag them out, but it's like you might end up ruining them a bit. But you just have to play around with it, basically. just play around with it, and you'll get the technique down of how to thin your edges out. So let me see here. I'm gonna take you off. Oh, almost lost it there. So one way I go about thinning these edges down is I'll actually just take a bit of the latex, and I'll usually just take the cap like this. I'll just take just pour a little bit of latex in the cap, because I don't need much for this. And then I'm just taking my tool, dipping it in the latex, and then I'm just going around the edges and just pulling outwards, hitting the latex, and then just pulling outwards. And what I'm doing is basically just thinning out the edges like that. So it's like, that's what I say is like, just play around with it, and just find out what works for you. The majority of all these appliances that I make, they're usually just for Halloween. So they're usually at night, so it's low light. So I'm not too concerned with the edges being completely concealed. But this is just something that you can try to do. So just try to lay it out like that. Nope, not even on screen. But just go around, add a little bit to the edge, because latex will stick to latex very well. And we'll just do that all the way around. Alright, I'm going to call that done. Alrighty guys, so yeah, just keep doing that. Just remember to keep your edges as thin as possible, so just a layer of latex for the edges. And if you want to, you can add a few more layers to the middle of your appliance, and that will make the appliance a lot more rigid, so when you go to apply it, it won't just collapse on itself. But that's basically it. So I'm going to let this dry completely. This might take anywhere between an hour. So for this one, for this little one, yeah, I'm gonna give it like a good hour to dry. But again, it just depends on the size of your appliance and how deep some of the parts are and all that. Some might just take you might want to just let go, for a good 4 hours or whatever. So I'm going to let this dry, guys, and we'll be back. Alright guys, so we're back, and it's been a little bit over an hour, and so as you guys can see, the latex has turned from a white to a tan looking color, and that is the indication that it is dry. If you see any specks of white anywhere, that is just telling you that that particular spot is still wet, and it may just need a little bit more time for it. So okay, so the next thing we have to do is just demold it, and before you just go ahead and pull it out, you want to release the latex, and you do it because the latex by itself right now, this is fresh latex, and so if you take it out, it will stick to itself. So to counteract that, you have to release it with a powder, and you have two options here. You can either release it with a baby powder, that works very well, but the thing with baby powder, obviously it has a scent to it. So if you don't want to deal with a powder with a scent, another alternative that you can do is you can actually use the plaster itself in its powdered form. Plaster works very well, and there's no scent to it whatsoever. And we're just going to just give it a gentle coating of plaster over the latex. I'm just going to take another chip brush here, take some powder, and you can dump some extra excess out. But we're just going to just lightly go over everything. Dump any excess that we have back in. And there we go. Now it is released. And so now we can just go ahead and proceed with peeling the edges off. Peel it off all around. The one thing I like to do with these is to release the edges first. So just going around and just releasing all the edges. And then I like to slowly make my way inwards, and then just slowly working it off, getting everything, and there we go. So everything came out really nice and clean. If you guys can see that, everything came out really nice. All the detail is there. It's nice and firm, so there's definitely a perfect amount of layers. And then this I could easily use this and apply this. Now these edges are a little bit bigger, so you could always just take it. You could trim them down. Cut it down to a little bit smaller. And if you end up with a pretty thick little edge, you could easily just either put it back in the mold, or just try to take it on a smooth surface of some sort, and then you can just take a little bit of latex and try to feather it out just a little bit more, just to get rid of that hard edge. But yeah, so now I have a nice flexible copy of that particular piece. It is completely ready to go and to apply. I'm happy with how this turned out. There are a few things I'm seeing right now that are a few of the stitches do have little holes and stuff coming through. It's like it's look at them look messed up a bit. I'm trying to look at the mold right now, and yeah, they're definitely in the mold. And this is why I told you guys to be just be careful with cleaning out the clay, because I think that's what happened. I think I scraped the plaster, and it created little divots inside the mold. So now I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Let me see if I can. But if you can see that, like this stitch here has a big old like hole in it, and a few of them. There's a few other little holes around it. Now, if that does happen, I would suggest just trying to go. If you don't want those holes, like with this, these actually somewhat work for me, because this is a old looking like stitched up wound, and so I can use these defects to my advantage. So when I apply the makeup, I could make these look like they're old, worn out stitches that maybe are like starting to break or whatever. But if you don't like the defects that you get, I would suggest just taking something very small and just mixing a small bit of plaster up and just trying to work a tiny bit into there just to fill those gaps up. But you want to be careful with that, because you could easily do more damage to the mold. So that'd be my suggestion for that. But overall, that's the process for doing them. Overall, I'm happy with how this turned out, and I think this is gonna look like a really good appliance. Give you guys like an idea of what this is going to look like on a hand, like an arm, kind of make it look like that, you know, or anywhere you choose to place them. You know, it's completely up to you. Because it is latex, obviously, it is flexible, so you know I can put it around my hand. But like I said, see, it's because it was molded straight. Obviously, the piece is going to want to lay straight. So as you can see, it's not wanting to hug my arm very well. I have to force it down, which is again not too much of a deal, too much of a big deal. You know, it's thin latex, easy to do, but had it been sculpted on a round surface, the appliance would have turned out round, and so it would have hugged my my hand or whatever a lot better. But yeah, I could easily see that, working out really well. If you guys can see that. Or under the arm, make it look like the wrists are together. So, but yeah, I think that's it. And one quick thing, I forgot to mention it during the molding process, but another safety tip. If you do have extra water to clean your brushes or anything, do not by any means throw this down the sink. Any sink, does not matter. Do not throw it down the sink, because this will ruin your plumbing. Don't throw it down your sink. Don't throw it down your toilet. No plumbing at all. Okay? If you want to get rid of this, go outside, dump it on the ground. Or do something like that. Or, get rid of it some way. Just don't throw it down your drain. Whatever you do not throw any water that has plaster in it down your drain. It will clog up your drain, and then it'll harden in your pipe, your plumbing, and it will cause a nightmare. So be smart. With any waste that you have for plaster or anything like that, just don't throw that down your drain or your plumbing at all. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. Turned out really nice. So in a future video, guys, I'll show you how to apply appliances like this. And on a side note, I've got a few other ones to show you here. A few other ones that I've older ones that I have. So here are two other ones that I've done, and these work in conjunction with each other because this is actually a witch makeup that I made a few years ago. And so we've got the chin. So if you guys can see that. I'm trying to focus and trying to get this in frame. But this is a little chin appliance mold that I made. And as you can see, the mold, it's nothing special, just like the one we just made. Same process, but if you can see, I sculpted all the other ones, these other ones, on a life cast of myself. And so if you can see, the mold is curved. It's curved to fit my face, but it can fit anyone else's face. But that's what I was telling you about how you mold and sculpt, how you sculpt and mold your appliances. It'll take on the shape, and it's easier. Again, if this is going on a human body, which it should be, it'll form to their body a lot better. Because as you can see from here, the appliance is curved. So that way it'll make applying it a lot easier. So there we got the chin, and then this is the nose. Again, nothing special, but bring in here, and then there's the nose. If you guys can see that. Try to use my hand as a background here. Okay. So we have the nose and the chin. And so all I have to do is I just have to cut out the nostrils here, and then maybe trim up these edges a bit. But you know, this is perfectly fine and ready to apply. You know. And this just goes to show you, you know, exactly what you can do with this small little technique. It's, you know, and that's the thing. It's cheap. It's nice and cheap. The only thing that really is going to cost you is the latex. You know, because the latex and then the clay. But you know, you can make any kind of a small appliance that you need. And these are, again, nice and quick. Again, nose, it's curved. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back in. Okay. And then another one that I've made here is this. It's a side wound. See if you guys can see that or not. Hopefully you guys can see that. This one is just to make it look like a big like scrape wound or something's happened in it. You know, just another example of what you can do. Again, perfectly good, fine to just slap on someone's face, arm, or whatever. You know. There's the mold for it. It's like nothing fancy, just a quick plaster mold. Now, some sculpts you can get a little bit creative with. So this last one is a pustule plants mold. There's the mold, and there's the plants. And this one's designed to just look like nasty pustules forming on whatever, again, hand, face, what have you. And there's another picture of the mold right there. Again, nothing fancy. Plaster, quick, easy, simple. But depending on what your sculpt is, you can kind of do a little different things with it too. Like with this one, I have a bit of choices that I can either make one big appliance, like this one, where all the pustules are just one piece, or I can actually cast up individual pustules. If you guys can see that, well, let me right there. So these are all individual little pustules that I could easily just take if I want a character to have a wart or anything. And all I did was I just casted these individually. I just had to put clay, latex in the spots, and I was able to get out individual little warts or what have you. So that goes to show is like you can do a lot of things with this small little technique. There's really no limitation to it. So if I want my hand to have a obviously these work better on faces, but again, if I want to just have a hand and maybe just put like a big wart on it or something, So I just wanted to show you guys those right there, just to show you what can be done with this simple little technique. And so that's gonna do it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it, and I hope you guys get a lot of good enjoyment out of what you learned here. So that's gonna do it, guys. And if you guys enjoyed it, please, like always, like the video, subscribe, and remember to hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new videos. Being these are creative videos, they can take some time to put together, so don't expect videos like every week. But they do come. I just have to get everything ready to make the videos for you guys. But that's it, guys. So remember, if you liked it, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, and by all means, please, 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 if you have any questions at all, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and I will try to answer them as best I can. If you have any problems, I will try to help you guys out. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you again next time. Take care.